ตุอนุตตโรปุริสธรรมสารติสัทธาเทวมนุสสานังพุทโธภควาติสวากขาโตภควตาธัมโมสันติทิโกอาการิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโอปานายิโกปัญจตังเวทิตังโพวินโยอิติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอุชุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะทิทังจัตตาริปุริสยุคานิอันทาปุริสภูคาระเอสัพพะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุนายโยปาหุนายโยอาทินายโยอัญชลีการณิโยอนุตตระปุญญเขตังโลกัสสาติอัญชลีวันทาอภิวาทอัญชลีวันทาอภิวาทอัญชลีวันทาอภิวาทอัญชลีวันทาอัญชลีเสียงก็ช่วงบ่ายนี้ก็ให้ปฏิบัติเดินจงกรมระยะที่1ถึงระยะที่5เนาะที่พระอาจารย์สนใจท่านสอนเมื่อเช้านี้หรือเมื่อคืนนี้1 2 3 4 5เนาะ5 7 วันคือเดินwalking meditation 45 นาทีนั่งกำหนด45 นาที
For today, for this sitting, we said that we can increase the time a little bit more, that we sit 45 minutes and that we do walking meditation for 45 minutes. I will put the alarm clock again. Also, Afternoon-1 is offering a question and answer class, so we will meet at 6 o'clock again. We'll meet at 6 o'clock again, and we'll do roughly an hour of chanting, just 1 to 2 more. So roughly 1 hour of chanting, and then we have question and answer. I could convince our boss, the head of our Thai charity department, who lived for 7 years, I think, in New Zealand, so her English is perfect. And she's a very dedicated Buddhist also, so she's a perfect translator. So whatever kind of question you have, Afternoon-1 is really one of the meditators. Has such a long experience for many years, and like Ajahn Sangha said, he was in Myanmar for special training, so it's a very special school, so he's really one of the Vipassana master. So whatever kind of question you have for idea that what I learned in the beginning from the monks is that you need to hinder your feet from sweating. Because when they sweat and they get really wet, then it's very likely that you get much more blisters. So what they do is they wake up in the morning and then they drink a lot of water, really a lot, so that you are hydrated in the morning. So, and then, like roughly an hour before you start walking, you stop drinking. And then during the walk, just really very small dips. So, and then when we reach the destination after 3 hours, then you flush your system again with liquid. So you don't want to dehydrate or something like this, but for that period of walking, it's a good idea that the body, that you have to go to the toilet before we walk, and that an hour before or half an hour before, you don't drink so much. And then your feet don't sweat, and then less blisters come. Also, when you walk, make smaller steps and try to land kind of flat with your feet. So that hinders that you get either ear blisters or heel blisters, so that you just really become a little bit more mindful that barefoot you walk different. Okay? Good. And then, yes?
When you walk with shoes behind someone who walks barefoot, walk really careful. Like if the train is stopping, do not run because you look right or left. Run into the other one. They really focus on their feet. The feet are really sensitive, and they don't need the other one to run into them from behind. Just to keep and keep a little distance and let them do their speed. I don't know.
So, and that's the practical stuff. Also, I don't know if everybody brought electrolytes. It's a very good idea. No, maybe tomorrow we have to then pass by 7-Eleven or something like this and get some electrolytes going. Yeah? Because it's when we are walking in the sun, it's already pretty hot, and you sweat, then it's very, very important that we rehydrate. So when you see the bananas on the table, eat them, because potassium is next to salt, two things we really need. Yeah, so banana, 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 banana. Good. These are the practical things. And I would like to talk a little bit about the Qigong meditation. There's a reason why the Buddha was saying that this kind of practice is the advanced practice for monks, that you change place every day, that you're not longer than 24 hours in a place, that you don't get attached to certain foods, to certain supporters, environments, and stuff like this, so that your mind is in a constant change. Because this is the simile for life itself. Because no matter how hard we try to kind of manifest our life and get, a sense of security, life is not like this. Yeah, we think everything is kind of fine, we can do it, we can kind of know what's going on and how the future will be, and then Corona hits, and then boom, suddenly everything is completely different. Yeah, and then suddenly life stops as we know it. Yeah, or then a war breaks out, or things can just change. So the law of impermanence is such an important thing that we just really learn to, because the difference is you can have two states of mind. One state of mind is aversion against what is, and the second state of mind is acceptance. You can either be in one or the other, like being pregnant. You cannot be a little bit pregnant. And that's the same thing. Either you accept it or or you are in a state of aversion. So, and the law of impermanence means that the happiness comes only when you are in a stage of acceptance. And this is why walking barefoot is so powerful, because it's another simile for life. Because when you walk barefoot, it hurts. Do we feel that, or am I the only one? Yeah? Either your feet, or your knees, or your hips, or your back, or your shoulders, or your neck, or all of it at the same time. So, and that's the perfect simile for life. Life also hurts. Yeah? People leave your life, friendships break up, families are breaking up, people get ill, life hurts. So, and again, when you walk and you feel the pain, this is where the learning can start taking place. Are you in aversion to it? So, and that can go into two directions. Either your mind is the whole time escaping from it. Escaping. Yeah, making the whole time thoughts, either nice thoughts about, what's coming next in your travels and, where you're going or what you're planning to do in life and all your nice projects. It can go on for hours and hours. Yeah, or even going to places of anger or aversion against other people or yourself, or that's also an escape route that you don't need to feel what's actually the pain that is actually here. So the training is that you start to slowly come to a place of not resisting. So, and that's what you try to do with the walking meditation, especially when the pain is increasing, that you don't resist. Yes?
But I think it's difficult to find out when it's pain good and when the pain too much. So I can also go with blisters and then not protecting them or not healing them, and then I can go on my clothes up and down.
Yeah.
Where do I stop?
Well, that's a point where you have to look carefully. Of course, you take care of your blisters. Of course, it's also very important. If you have blisters, you need to clean them. I have saline solutions, and and there's alcohol in the box and stuff like this. So you really need to make sure that everything is clean. That's self-care, for sure. But the blisters don't need to stop you from keeping warm. When I started this whole thing, my feet, I had baby feet. I can tell you. I never walked barefoot, because I was always playing soccer. So I always had shoes on, every minute of my life. And then after sunset, said, come on, let's walk for 7 hours. And then we had nurses, taking care of our blisters. And it was quite crazy. But what he did was that he always gave me, and that's why what I want to talk about. When you are with Ajahn Somshai, he doesn't have the concept of you cannot do it. It does not exist in his mind. So when he looks at you, he gives you the absolute confidence, no matter what will come, you can deal with it. And it was really so. When he was younger, we were walking and walking and walking and walking. Not in the morning, but in the middle of the day. Exactly for that training. And it brought me to a point in my life where, for example, phone call from my sister that my niece, she was 20 years at that point, that she just died in a car accident. And it was her only child. And you can imagine what kind of impact that it had to our whole family. It was devastating. And my sister is still, because one of the worst things which can happen to you if your child dies, period. And that's something which is very, very hard to heal. But what was interesting to see was that Anya, in my mind, was trained exactly in this for such a long time that there was pain, but there was never the question why. There was never a sense of aversion against how life is, no matter how painful it is in this moment. Does that make sense? Yeah, so the walking meditation is exactly that you go even beyond what you think you can endure to see, I'm never allowing my mind to go to a place where I think I cannot do it. But there's a point where then the doctor will come and say, you're going to sit down and make a break. But that's big. It probably will not reach that here on this journey. So this is what we try to do, that we walk, and that when the concentration is established to a point, doesn't have to be very deep, that you then start to bring your mind very consciously when you feel the pain to a point where you see, how can I now open up a little bit? How can I increase a little bit the acceptance? Yes, it is painful, period. And no matter what it takes in life, we will have to go through things. And if you are accepting what is, then you can stay calm, clear, and cool and concentrated no matter what is coming. Charlotte said one thing which stuck in my head for a long, long time. She said, in one point in her development, she just stopped arguing with herself. Because that's what we do. We start something, then it becomes difficult, and a lot of times then we are like, oh, we shouldn't do that. So yesterday, Ajahn Samshay said, count your steps. And I never did that. 24 years of meditation, I was like, no, that's so boring. I don't want to do this. So yesterday I said, okay, Kristen, he says it again and again, so I counted the steps. And by step 10,000, my mind was like, okay, now I've proven myself that I can actually do it, so I think I can stop now. So, the mind is, the confident always says, the mind has no pride. It will do anything to bring you away from discomfort. So, and then I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. So, and the interesting thing is, after I did it, when we came to the monastery, it was like, this is so interesting, because there's actually no excuse not to stay concentrated. But your mind will find so many excuses. So what I mean is, the training is one of the best things you can do for your life, because from neuroscience we know that actually the brain, not the content of your mind, but the brain itself, the neurological connection starts growing when there is the need for it. Yeah, when something is intense, when we really need to learn something. So this is the practice. Yeah, when the pain is really getting deep and intense, this is the moment where we can practice and see, what can I do right now to get to this inshallah mind state? Okay, I know I have 5 days of walking. I know it will be painful, and no matter what, I will go. state in the beginning, I promise you, you will succeed. And the art is to find that place of relaxation in the pain by accepting. Have you had the experience that you were sitting in meditation, for 1 hour or 1.5 hours or whatever is your maximum, and your whole body screams like, oh, and then you hear the bell. And you haven't changed posture, but already, and then you don't feel the pain anymore. Just by the relaxation which starts when you know, okay, it's ending now, before you change the posture. Okay? So, and that's the same thing if you're leaning into life, understanding it. You understand life is painful. Sometimes you step on this little stone. Exactly where my blister is. Exactly that. And sometimes when your concentration gets weak and you step on a big stone. Yeah? So these are the moments where the learning really can start. And that's the same thing with all the other, what we are talking about, wholesome and unwholesome mind states. So when you walk and you feel the pain, have a look if you can create little, what we call islands of compassion. Compassion for yourself. But what I do a lot of times is that when I feel my pain, I think about people in Africa who have to walk 3 hours for a couple of liters of water every day. Or I feel, the pain of people who are living in war, or, who are living in fear or something like this. So I try to, do little tricks in my mind to see that the pain I've experienced here is a simile for the pain in the world. The hunger, the violence, the abuse, whatever it is. Yeah? So and a lot of times I tell myself, if they can go through this, I can go through this. That helps me a lot to come to a heart of compassion with all living beings. So we try to increase here. That you try to create little islands of more and more awareness of what's going on in your mind and how you create the aversion against pain. Okay? So, and with every practice, with every step, you try to make this awareness grow and grow and grow. And I want to repeat what the actual goal is, because the Buddha was asked, like in India with the yogis, there were a lot of question and answer, that the teachers were coming together and they were discussing. So it was a time where people really were looking for wisdom. It was not, this is my path and this is your path. So there were a lot of times in these times that big teachers came together, they had an argument, and then one teacher was closer to truth, and then the whole community with that teacher would follow this other teacher. Yeah, so because people really just wanted to know. It was not to win or about ego or something like this. So there was one time where the Buddha was asked, what is the final goal of your practice? Like in the Yogi Rome, we talk a lot about, union with God or bliss or, whatever it is. But the Buddha gave a different answer. He said, the final goal are the Brahma Viharas. Brahma means divine and Vihara means dwelling place. So he was saying the final goal is to bring your mind to the divine state. And then he was asked, what are the divine states of the mind? And this is what we are chanting here. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka, and Pali language. So metta means unconditional love for all living beings, not including single one. The second one is compassion for all living beings, not excluding anyone. The third one is, we call it appreciative joy, the joy of the success of others, the joy of, the happiness of other people. One of the hardest mind states to develop, by the way. And the third one is equanimity, that the mind gets to a place where it is in complete balance. It doesn't go to any of the dualities, right and wrong, up and down, good and bad. The mind stays in complete peace. And we call it unshakable peace. Nothing from the outside is able to take that peace away from you. Okay? But the practice is exactly that. And the Buddha has laid out 40 different meditation techniques, and he had 1,500 teachings because people's minds are different. So, and we always say we can only give you tools. And your art is to take these tools and see what is working for you. What kind of tools do you need to bring your mind to these kind of states of mind? That's it. So, and you can try out. I can just tell you from my experience what I do in these meditation practices, and see for you what my mind needs, so that I can feel a little bit more love and compassion with myself first, and with all living beings. What do I need and what can I do to increase my ability to have compassion for other people rather than aversion and judgment? Our mind is infiltrated and we are trained to judge in our societies where we are growing up. We are trained and so inclined to judging other people, other cultures, other religions, other way of practicing. And you see your mind doing this with the people around you all the time. And so what helps me to find a place of more compassion? Yeah? So create more these islands of compassion. And allow your heart to be touched. Allow you. This is why I was asked, Christian, why Thailand? Why did you go there? Why are you practicing there? Maybe you are more needed in Germany right now. And I always said, just being in contact with this culture, being in contact with walking and seeing all these acts of generosity, of giving without wanting anything back. They don't know these monks coming by, they always ask on the way, where are you from? They say, WatPho, Manantan. Yeah, all these acts of generosity, of giving without wanting anything back. Everything is open, everything becomes your home. Yeah? If we just have a little bit of this culture, how much the Thai people trying to make you feel, accepted, loved, you're part of this. You're part. We speak about the Sangha as one of the triple gems, the most important things. But look how you feel. Not like a foreigner. Not like somebody who knows these people for 4 days now, but we're the pajama gang. And that's so needed on this planet. Yeah, so allow that to sink into your heart, that, that enjoy the company of the people around you and see how beautiful that is and how it feels when we really relate to each other, when we are going through this together, and that there are people around who are just doing everything they can to make you feel good. I need a toothbrush, I need shoes, I need an umbrella, I need my son. Just like take it. I'm happy to walk 2 hours and right back to WatPho to bring you whatever you need. So and that we just learn by copy paste. It's so easy if we go the extra mile for each other to make such a big difference, impact in our heart. And for me, we won't forget about all the teachings, all the concepts, all the whatever, but take this feeling of Sangha, of community, of connection, of being there for each other. Okay? And that's gone. Walking in unity, this is why we all wearing the white. We walk in unity, and that means everything. Again and again, Buddha is saying spiritual friendship is 100% our spiritual practice. And this is how the monks treat us as friends. And they are teaching and walking with us and preparing for weeks for us to have this experience. When we walked yesterday into the temple and all the Thai people had this laid out in front of us, like wow. Everything we need is already there. There's abundance. Just our mind keeps us away from feeling and experiencing it. And my job is to make the peace in my mind and my heart, so that I can actually do it. So, sit with that. Yeah? Let it expand, let it expand, let it expand. And I put on the timer.
Handbook page 250บาลีแรงเกตของคนไทยค่อยแชร์ทีหลังบาลีไทยเดี๋ยวจะแชร์ทีหลังบาลีด่วนๆก่อนต่อไปโอฤาษีสุเกเตอาหังสุขิโตโหมิอาพายาปัจโจโหมิอานิโคโหมิสุขีอัตตานังปริหารามิมาตาปิตุอาจาริยาจายาติหิตาจาสัพพะมจาริโนจาอาเวราโหนตุอาพยาปัจจาโหนตุอานิคาโหนตุสุขีอัตตานังปริหารันตุอิมัสสมิอารามิสัพเพโยคิโนอาเวราโหนตุอาพยาปัจจาโหนตุอานิคาโหนตุสุขีอัตตานังอิมัสสมิอารามิสัพเพภิกขุสามเณราจาอุปาสกะอุปาสิกายาจาอาเวราโหนตุอาพยาปัจจาโหนตุอานิคาโหนตุสุขีอัตตานังปริหารันตุอัมหากังจตุปัจจยทายกาอาเวราโหนตุอาพยาปัจจาโหนตุอานิคาโหนตุสุขีอัตตานังปริหารันตุอัมหากังอารักขเทวตาอิมัสสมิงวิหาเรอิมัสสมิงอาวาเสอิมัสสมิงอาราเมอารักขเทวตาอาเวราโหนตุอาพยาปัจจาโหนตุอานิคาโหนตุสุขีอัตตานังปริหารันตุสัพเพสัตตาสัพเพปานาสัพเพภูตาสัพเพปุคลาสัพเพอัตตภาวะปริยาปันนาสัพเพอิทิโยสัพเพปุริสาสัพเพอริยาสัพเพอนาริยาสัพเพเทวาสัพเพมนุสสาสัพเพวินิปาติกาอาเวราโหนตุอาพยาปัจจาโหนตุอานิคาโหนตุสุขีอัตตานังปริหารันตุทุกขามุจจันตุยะธารัตถะสัมปติโตมาวิกัจฉันตุกัมมัสสกาปุราติมายาติสายาปัจฉิมายาติสายาอุตตรายาติสายาทักขินายาติสายาปุริสิมายาอนุทิสายาปัจฉิมายาอนุทิสายา อุตตรายะอนุทิสายะทักขินายะอนุทิสายะเหติมายาทิสายะอุปริมายาทิสายะสัพเพสัตตาสัพเพปานาสัพเพภูตาสัพเพปุคลาสัพเพอัตถภาวะปริยาปันนาสัพเพอิทิโยสัพเพปุริสาสัพเพอริยาสัพเพอนาริยาสัพเพเทวาสัพเพมนุสสาสัพเพวินิปาติกาอาเวราหุนตุอาทายาปัจจาหุนตุอานิคาหุนตุสุขีอัตตานังปริหารันตุทุกขามุจจันตุยะถาลัตถาสัมปติโตมาวิกาชันตุกัมมัสสกาอุทธังยาวะภวกาจาอะโทยาวะอวิจิโตจาสัมมันตาจักกวาเลสุเยสัตตาปัทวีจาราอาภยาปัจจานิเวราจานิทุกขาจานุปัฏฐวาอุทธังยาวะภวกาจาอะโทยาวะอวิจิโตสัมมันตาจักกวาเรสุเยสัตตาอุทธเกจาราอาภยาปัจจานิเวราจานิทุกขาจานุปัฏฐวาอุทธังยาวะภวกาจาอะโทยาวะอวิจิโตสัมมันตาจักกวาเรสุเยสัตตาอากาเสจาราอาภยาปัจจานิเวราจานิทุกขาจานุปัฏฐวาต่อไปบาลีไทยยังเป็นสัพเพสัตตาสัตว์ทั้งหลายที่เป็นเพื่อนทุกข์เกิดแก่เจ็บตายด้วยกันทั้งหมดทั้งสิ้นอาเวราหุนตุจงเป็นสุขเถิดอย่าได้มีเวรแก่กันและกันเลยอาภยาปัจจาหุนตุจงเป็นสุขเถิดอย่าได้พยาบาทเบียดเบียนซึ่งกันและกันเลยอานิกาหุนตุจงเป็นสุขเถิดอย่าได้มีความทุกข์กายทุกข์ใจเลยสุขีอัตตานังปริหารันตุจงมีความสุขกายสุขใจรักษาตนให้พ้นจากทุกข์ภัยทั้งสิ้นเถิดเอทูอรหังอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนัมมัสสามิ กับหลวงปู่โพเวนารโบพระครูโพธิสารคุณหลวงปู่โพวัดโพนะอัญชลีวันทาอภิวัตอัญชลีวันทาอภิวัตอัญชลีวันทาอภิวัตอัญชลีวันทาอัญชลี
Anjali Vanta Apivam Anjali Vanta Apivam Anjali Vanta Apivam Anjali Vanta Anjali
สาธุอนุโมทนาบุญกับท่านสาธุตอนเย็นคริสเตียนใครมีปัญหาเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการปฏิบัติเตรียมมาเด้อปัญหาเกี่ยวกับการปฏิบัติคนนี้นะเรื่องอื่นถามอาจารย์สมชัยนะ
So Ajahn just had again the questions tonight about meditation. So Ajahn Sangha is the one who gives information about the Dharma, the philosophy and everything. Ajahn is knowledgeable about the practice. Where do you get stuck? Where do you have problems? You'll find out you all have the same problem, dealing with the same stuff. So it's good that we can all listen. And don't be shy to ask. This is not about being good or special or whatever. This is just about our